Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for checking the channel out. Keith, Two Guys How To. June's underneath there, getting ready to get raw. Today we're working on the U-joints and the carrier bearing on this crew cab, 8-foot bed, 4-wheel drive F350 Ford. This one's an 03. Last year before they went with a different motor. So we've been having a vibration coming out of the rear. We did have a flat tire on this particular unit, the inside tire. Thought it was that just gave us a kind of a humming noise, but as I kept driving the truck, I could just kind of feel it shimmying a little bit, and in between when it got ready to shift, it would shimmy a little bit and then kind of smooth out, and then as you were under load, it would kind of shimmy a little bit more. So I said to June, I said, well, it's either the transmission's got some shudder in it or the drive shaft's getting ready to go, one of the U-joints. So once we got underneath there, filled the tire up, ran it again. Once we got underneath there, the carrier bearing, the rubber around the carrier bearing is shot, and the U-joint right behind the carrier bearing is starting to go bad due to it taking the force of the carrier bearing, not keeping it in center. So we're gonna get busy here. June's got the jack up under the rear axle here, and he's got two big old jack stands up underneath there. You can see it's starting to rain, and we've got our used 7-Eleven signs that we always slide on, similar to a creeper. We like these better just because we can get up underneath there and clean them off easy. And we're gonna take the drive shaft down, press out the old universal joints and put new ones in. So let's get busy. All right, so we're under the truck. You got your main drive shaft coming out of your transfer case. He's got, what, you got a 6.12 mil or 12.12 mil to break these bolts here that hold this the transmission, or the shaft that comes out of the transfer case to the actual drive shaft here. And you can see right here is your carrier bearing. This is what we mean by the carrier bearing. It's got two bolts up into this mount here, and the drive shaft's so long it comes up through the carrier bearing, hits another U-joint, goes back way down there, and we've got our third and final U-joint back there. So we're gonna start by undoing the front here. This is coming out of the transfer case, and we're gonna get this down, get a little closer for you. He's gonna undo those 4 bolts and then make our way back to the back, or possibly do this and rope it off.
Use the 12-point.
And you can see why you need a 12-point socket. Let's get it down here. Maybe even out here you can see a little better. Whoops. Now it's hard to see either way. Let's let the camera focus in, and you can see how many sides are on that particular bolt there. So you need a special 12-point socket to get into this bolt here. And there's 4 of those. There's plenty of room under here. He's got it jacked up, but you can see here the cause of the problem here. When I shake this thing, the rubber inside there is just beat up. You see it moving right there when he's shaking it, and that's just gonna blow out on you down the road and beat the drive shaft up. Beat your fuel. It's gonna beat the fuel tank up.
That's some play in it.
And you can see the play right on this one. If those things break on you, they're gonna bust up your fuel tank. They're gonna mess up your exhaust system that goes down through here. This thing gets to carrying on and banging around in here, and that's the ball game. Yeah, or it could go up through the floorboard. So it's a dangerous little unit. It's taking all the torque of this truck. So we're gonna go ahead and get this the very first U-joint bolts out of there, as far as that holds this up, the drive shaft to the transfer case, and then move on to the next piece. All right, we got the 4 bolts out of the front part of the drive shaft where it comes into the transfer case, and June's working on this carrier bearing. He broke one of these bolts free here. You got 2 bolts here.
There's a clip on the back and a clip on this one bolt.
Was that like a fender clip? Yeah, that's all that holds it in, just the hole of the fender clip.
Yep.
Yeah, so you got a fender clip right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. And it slides over the metal with a hole that actually tightens this bolt up. This actual bracket isn't threaded. So I gotta call Ford back up, and this one's broken here. And this one's most likely gonna break here as well. So we're gonna go ahead and break that free. So we're gonna go ahead and take this off. This will loosen up this carrier bearing. We're not gonna take the bolts all the way out yet because we didn't undid the front. We want a little bit of weight on this one here. And then we're gonna go all the way to the back. And we'll see if you guys can see right there the drive shaft going back into that rear right there. And there's 4 more of those other 12-point bolts that you're gonna need the 12-point socket for right there. So June's going to get a hammer to tap this socket up onto the carrier bearing bolt. We're gonna get this thing off of here. I'm gonna go ahead and order 2 new clips just when we reassemble. It's gonna go back together right. If not, we're looking for trouble. So let me call Ford, get this off of here and move on to the back. Okay, and you can see we got the carrier bearing dropped down. I got my hand in there and you can see this nut that I was talking about. It's kind of like a fender nut. It's got the nut welded on one side and it's got a clip right there you can see, and it just slides over top. This nut goes up inside there like that. Well, of course Ford doesn't have them. They'd be in tomorrow. So today, assuming we have all the other parts right, the U-joints, the carrier bearing, which is at the dealership, the other stuff we got Moog from Advanced Auto. We're going with this Ford OEM carrier bearing. We like that better than the National brand. And you can always just put a bolt up top of here, I mean a nut up top of here and a washer. So you'd use the bolt and the washer, and then another nut and a washer up top of here. You could use a split ring lock washer if you want to make sure it doesn't slide, but you can see how that thing goes through like that. It sits up on the frame. And they're just like a quick nut, speed nut type deal for a fender. So we left 1 bolt in. The carrier bearing, we've got 1 bolt in the front part of the drive shaft. June might have broke the other socket on this, so he's going to get a heavy duty 12-point socket on a 1/2-inch drive. We're not using the impact today. We're just doing all hand tools out on the parking lot where the shop is. So we're gonna get this thing dropped down and I'll help hold this up. And that way I can kind of support the carrier bearing right here in the middle while he takes the 2 bolts out, and we'll just walk this drive shaft out of here. And once we get the drive shaft up and out of here, we're gonna head back to the garage and we'll show you how to press these out. Hopefully we don't have to heat them up to press them out, but we'll see what it entails when we get in there and we use the machine, the press tools that we have, and we'll show you what kind those are. And you can rent them or buy them. We buy them because we do so much stuff, so we'll get you started in there. Let's get this drive shaft off of here and up inside into the shop. So we got the drive shaft off and out from underneath the car, and you can see where the carrier bearing is here. I was looking at it. Someone's been prying up in here, and the carrier bearing, you see the rubber here, and it goes over like that. And that's what bolts up into the truck with these clips. And we can show you these clips here. They're kind of like a half clip. This one broke, and they just slide over the frame like that, and then your carrier bearing is down here, and the bolt goes up in there. And these things have been on there so long. The bolt almost hardened bolt. It's probably grade 8 strip, so these won't be until tomorrow. So what we're going to do is just replace these with a nut and washer up top and just have to hold the top. So June's got the rubber mallet here. I'm trying to separate the drive shaft will come apart in 2. See right down in here. Put that blue on there. It might be in some kind of Loctite, just to help it so it doesn't rust out in there, kind of like a clear coat. You can see it comes apart in 2. We're going to focus on the carrier bearing and then start going into these U-joints. We're going to wire brush this shaft right here where this seal comes off of here. I'm gonna hold this like this for June. See if he can get down in there as much as he can with that wire brush on the drill. We wire brushed that as the best we could, and we still got it sitting vertical. June's going to spray some PB Blaster down and around in there just to eat that rust up. We're just going to go ahead and cut this the metal or the rubber bushing off here and expose this dang bearing. And you can see this carrier bearing here, the housing here. You can see it's all busted right here. That's where you get your shock absorption from, that little spider web kind of deal. And you can see it's just all broken up. We just cut it there, but up inside there, it's just worn out. So we had to run up to Harbor Freight and got this, it's a 3-jaw puller set, 4 pieces. It's got some small ones in it, a bigger. Of course, we tried the bigger one. It's not long enough. It comes with these extensions on it, but what we did is we went into one of the littler ones, took the extensions off of that one there, double up the extensions. You can see what June's doing, he's bolting it. So I'm going to show you guys on the F-150, these with this claw part, the claw arms would probably be fine. On the 250, it's a little bit beefier, maybe the drive shaft's longer, we're not sure. He's just taking apart that puller and he's adding some extra arms on it. That should be more than long enough, hopefully not too long. Rather have it a little too long, we can always figure out a way to shorten it up later. If not, we're going to custom weld some brackets or a chain or something that's going to be the exact match for what we need. So he's just putting 2 extensions per arm, and he took those off of, here, I'll get this. We basically just robbed it off another puller that we had in the kit here. And if you order this online for yours, it looks like the number is a 63760, and it's a cheapy Harbor Freight. The metal isn't, it's not hardened. You can see normally this would be black, like a good maybe carbon steel. This is just cheap. We're going to put a little bit of lube here, some like anti-seize grease or something, so it doesn't strip it out if we over tighten it. Get these arms hooked up and get back out here into the drive shaft that we got taken apart out front there and get this bearing on. So let's go ahead and get this puller long enough, and hopefully it pulls right off and we can bang it back on and press it back on easily. You can see the 2 pullers linked together. Looks like some kind of transformer, but we've got plenty of length with those double extenders here. One from the smaller puller and one that came with this puller, so we used 2 different pullers from the 3 or 4 puller kit with these big long arms with the nice big hook on them. So that's it in full. Let's show you what June's going to do. He's got the impact gun there. And there's a nipple right on the front of this. You want to show them this on the front of this drive shaft right there. And that puller is going to go right up into there. You can see that puller's got a little dimple in it, like kind of coned, and it's going to go right up in the middle. And these hooks are going to go around that race, which is a little beat up. If we have to, we're going to grind that off and get it up underneath the bearing itself. Let's get this, see if we can get a good bite on here. Yeah, that's 3 of them there. You want these hooks to be up underneath the lip of that race. We're hoping it'll just come off without it slipping off. It's barely on there. Yeah. They make a better tool. They make one that clamps around the bearing and pull it up, but
we need to be in that slot.
yeah, and there's little slots down here. Well, actually, I'll probably put them in there. You could knock a little slot in here with a chisel, and that way the arm of the puller goes right into that slot. hopefully it gets a good enough bite.
Let's try it.
And you greased her up a little bit with some anti-seize. Yeah, let's put a little bit of grease. We're just going to grease this up because these things are so cheap. Normally it should be a black metal, but the tools are just getting cheaper and cheaper and the prices are going up. So we're just going to go ahead and put a little bit of anti-seize grease on there. You can use any kind of grease, axle grease, bearing grease, whatever. We just use the anti-seize. That way as it's pulling through, it'll grease it on up. That's plenty. Yeah, that's good. He's got the impact gun there. You can use just a regular wrench. You're just going to have to hold it down a little bit more thorough. But it's easier if you use the air gun. You can see right there what he's got. I don't see it moving. Yeah, it's slow. She ain't budging. I mean, she's moving, but maybe we have a little sprizzle out here. No more spray. Maybe we should grease it up a little bit more, but it came off. You can see it's gapped now. Where my finger was, you couldn't even get the finger in there before. But let's go ahead and hit it with a little bit of spray and hit it again, and you can see why we grease it, because it's just so much tension on the threads there. It's trying to pull this back while pushing down with the one stud, the threaded stud, by pulling the puller back. So he's going to hit that with a little bit of PB Blaster. Should have definitely popped off by now. It's that rust on that drive shaft. Let's hit it again. I could put the camera down and hit that with a chisel while you're doing it, probably pop it off. Let me try it like this while you're doing it. Alright, so you got your little kind of grease seal or whatever you want to call this. that runs over top of this bearing. We went ahead and we took one of them off this way, slid it off, and we went in, and we'll pull this one back. That way we can get a good bite right on this bearing with this claw. Let's go in here and one more time. Now you can get a good nice hold on it. Yep, still good. Okay, it should go. That's the ball game, so it's off. Now you can see, and we're going to go ahead and clean this off with some emery cloth, and we're going to get all this rust off before we put that nice new bearing down in there, because you can see the pitting on this metal. We're going to hit it with a wire brush on a drill, clean that up, and hit it with some emery cloth real good. Alright, so we're ready to install this new carrier bearing we got from Ford, and it's an Edward 4 T as in Tom, Z as in Zebra dash 4800-8, and this is an original part. We just got it from Century Ford in Mount Airy, and you can see it comes with the clip. Whoop, hopefully you guys can see this. It comes with the clip that holds the main clamp down to the vibrating bushing in there, and it came with a seal here that goes in there, which is nice. The other one didn't have, and it came with this other dust seal that goes right over there like that. So we're good to go. We're going to get this thing pressed on there. We got the old carrier bearing off. We went ahead and wire brushed all this and cleaned it with some emery cloth. So next, on the standard OEM kit, it came with this seal here, and it came with this other seal. The one seal goes in the front, one goes in the back. You can see it. It looks so old and rusty you can't even really tell. Once we started looking at it, we're wondering where it went. And the other carrier bearings we ordered didn't have this cap. I mean, you can leave this cap. You don't have to change it. We're going to change it just to show you how to change it. So I'm going to use a little bit of WD-40 down in there. And let's just be a little bit more generous with it. We've got a slight sledgehammer while June holds that chisel. You want to show them that? We just got an assortment of chisels actually. He brought a bunch out. So we're going to hit it lightly, see if it just pops off, which it is. We're going to rotate it around. It's coming off a lot easier than anticipated. And maybe you're just going to keep going around and kind of getting it out of there. Try not to go too deep where you'll score that little shaft under there. And just keep loosening it up. Or even go with the fatter chisel once you get it cracked open. Let's see if we can just pry it off of there. So we just pried it on off. Once again, you can see the difference between the new and the old here. June's going to go get the wire brush on the drill, and we're going to clean this area up and prep it with some grease, a little WD-40 to press that back on there. All right, so we got the carrier bearing off, we got the dust cover off that goes back near the back part of the drive shaft. We're gonna put that back on. And one note I wanted to make on this carrier bearing that we got from Ford, it's got the arrow that says forward that goes towards the motor. Make sure you install it right or you're gonna have problems. And in order to bang this on, you can see the bearing. The inner diameter of this tube is 1 5/8, and the outside was 2. So he went ahead and June used the bench grinder and ground this edge down. We had found it up on a buggy tow package that we used for one of the sand rails, and we ended up we're gonna just use it as a tool. So he went ahead and hit that with the bench grinder, beveled it down to an edge there, and you can see how it fits directly right in there and hits that bearing or hits the race on the bearing instead of hitting the outside of the bearing and bending up all these seals. So you want to either rent something like this. We couldn't find one, we just made it. That's what we do. And we're going to put it in the drawer and use it for future drive shafts. And you can see it fits both sides perfectly. So it'll help put this carrier bearing on as well as the last end dust seal. And on the first one, I think we're just going to tap it on. So let's get busy putting this back together so we can get it up underneath the truck. And we've got a block of wood down on the ground. That way we're not scoring up the bottom of the drive shaft. And once again, we're not installing this yet. We're going to put the dust seal. When we get this ready, he's going to put a little WD-40 around where that new dust seal goes up. It actually goes up on the drive shaft. You can see the old one versus the new one. And this one was just beat to crap from the old owner of the truck, so we don't need that. We're going new. We don't want to make a piece of pipe. Technically, you'd probably need another piece of pipe that would go around this and bang it on, which we'll do later. But for right now, we want to get this truck on the road. I'm going to center this up. And we've got a brass hammer. It's rubber on one side and brass on the other. Brass is softer than metal, so when you hit the metal, it's going to dent this brass before it beats your metal up. And we've got a couple awls here. We're just going to lightly go around with the awls, not try to disconform the structure of the
don't have to go on there that far.
It's only got to go on a little bit. So we're just going to lightly hit it, just gently, and get it started evenly. Really, if you had a brass punch where the end is brass, that would be even better. We don't have one of those, but I am actually going to go and buy one now that we're talking about it. And I'm just going right around the edge there. That should look a little more. Try to go down just a hair more. Let's see if I can hit it with this bigger one here. That's looking better.
A little more, pretty good.
Yeah, and it should almost touch the drive shaft right there with the gap. So we're going to go right in the middle now that we've got it seated on there. And we're just going to go around the outside real lightly. Maybe squirt a little bit more WD on there. And you can hear it bottoming out right now. The tapping's getting more dense. It's not as tingy. It sounds pretty seated to me. What's it look like, Gene? We can show them what that looks like here. You can see on that one, it's seated all the way up, butted all the way up. And we just went around the inside here at first with the awl turned upside down, and then later I ran it right in this middle seam until it bottomed out. So let's get it back on. We're ready to put this carrier bearing in the right direction. Remember, it's got that arrow. The arrow is going to go down towards the motor. The motor, I remember if June hooked it up, this goes towards the motor. And once again, we're going to spray a little bit of WD on there. You can use some axle grease or whatever. We're just going to use the WD. It's lighter weight and it comes off easier. We're going to put it on there, and it'll only go down there so far. And that's when that special tool that June just made is going to work the best. So we're going to put that thing over top. And let me show them how it fits here. See how that tube fits right down in there. Pull it up one more time, June, and reinstall it. There you go. And see, there's that main shaft, and inside there, that's that race. You see how he ground that down? It fits right in there. And this tool, we'll use this thing forever. So let's get set back up here and get this thing banged back on here. Let's do this. We need to get this truck back on the road. And I've got a little mini sledgehammer. I'm actually just going to hit the top part. We've got a piece of wood here. We're going to go real nice and easy with it. It doesn't take much. Sounds almost good. Yeah, it's about right where the other one is, and I'll show you. It's a lot easier. Just take the dang camera off. And you can see the gap right there. There is going to be some kind of gap. And you've got a little bit of the shaft still there. And that's where this seal is going to go. It's actually going to, this inner diameter, this diameter matches this axle. So let's go right over top of this one time. A little bit of that WD in there. Whoop. And June's pretty much got it there. It's pretty much in. We can go ahead and then just strike it a few times maybe. What do you think? And it's seated. You can see it's perfectly seated right there. Let's go ahead and clean this off a little bit. And that's nice and fresh. Once again, the arrow's going right here towards the front of the drive shaft, towards the motor. Alright guys, so we're up under the truck now. I got the drive shaft here, two-piece, and this is the part to the transfer case, the front part of it. And you got your Ford. You can see where the old bracket went. And I went ahead and I got my blue Loctite. All my nuts, or actually my bolts, are all Loctited up, ready to go in those holes, as well as the back. And we've got this one clip. Remember I told you that carrier bearing goes right here. And I put one clip on. I got anti-seize grease on these two bolts. And let's put up this other clip real quick. I'm running out of time and camera memory here. And they just go right on there. I was gonna, I remember in the beginning of the video I started talking about just swapping these out, but you know what? Actually, I got these backwards. And the nuts got to go up top there. That way you don't have to hold it with a wrench. June's not here, and that's going to save me a lot of time and effort right here. So let's just get those flipped back around. They're galvanized, and they'll hold up. They'll hold that carrier bearing, so I can install this thing myself here. So let me get these on, get this drive shaft up in here. I have the shorter part with the stub. I'm going to hang it back there, and then later I'm going to hook that up. So let me get raw and do this on my own real quick, and I'll show you the finished product. Just make sure you use the blue Loctite here on the transfer case, and you also use it back there on the rear diff on those 4 bolts, those 12-point bolts. If not, it could loosen up on you. They come factory like that. So make sure you use the blue, not the red. The red will not come off later without excessive heat. The blue will zip right out with the air gun. So let me get raw and finish up. All right, guys. So job complete. Drive shafts in on the big white truck there. So I test drove it. No shimmies. Everything's good. I'm gonna run it. Actually, I'm gonna recheck the bolts just for torque afterwards. And I checked them already. I'll check them again later. But everything's good to go. So I'm pretty much out of here. I got things I got to do, and I need this truck. So until next time, keep 2 guys how to. Check out the other videos. Check out the channel. Maybe some can help you. Give me an email. I'll respond back. It's me. It'll say Keith, 2 guys how to. Fix it yourself. Save that money. I got place to be. You do too. So I'm out. Peace. What's up, Iggy? Talk to him before I shut the video down. Oh yeah. Yep. You're not a pig, you're a lawyer. He's not a pig, he's a lawyer. Peace.
I'm not a pig, I'm a lawyer.